my assignments, I was on a bus with a man. He had actually come to advertise some medical products of his, and he was talking about a family situation. Now, he was citing a medical problem with the men, and he referred to a situation at home. This man had 8 beautiful daughters, and as he spoke, he mentioned that his wife was pregnant at the time. Now, he said that he was not expecting his wife to come home with another girl, and if his wife did not know and she brought home another girl, it was going to be war. I was definitely taken aback by this comment. But why would a man who even has 8 beautiful children continue to give birth, all in the seeking of a male child? Today's topic is on sexism. We will be talking about sexism and how it has operated in several realms of society. But don't forget that this video is powered by Reflo'S TV and Reflo'S Sanitary pads. Your well-being is a #1 priority because you deserve the best. It's your girl, Reflo'S church girl, and as I always say, there is dignity in doing it right. Let's go to today's conversation, sexism. Now, one may ask, what is sexism all about? Now, by sexism, we are referring to the presence of all forms of discrimination, stereotypes, and prejudices that go against people on the basis of their gender or their sex. We're looking at all forms of demeaning narratives that are leveled against people, not because of anything, but because of the gender or sex that they associate with. Now, research has said that when it comes to sexism, women and girls are researched to have been at the receiving end the most when you're comparing them with the other gender, the male gender. Research puts this out there, and this conversation will look at how this particular gender has been affected in this sense. Now, we can all infer from this introduction that gender discrimination is at the very heart of sexism, and gender discrimination has also given birth to a lot of problems or a lot of social consequences, and one of these is gender violence. So we can look at all forms of gender violence. We can look at physical violence, emotional violence, sexual violence, economic violence, and all forms of violence that affect people gender-wise. We're looking at people who are molested because of their gender. Here we're looking at girls and women bearing the brunt of sexual violence just because they fall within this gender. We can also talk about the almighty gender inequality, a topic we have discussed from time immemorial. We're looking at the lack of access to opportunities, the enjoyment of privileges and rights equally by all the genders. So we can talk about certain policies that existed and, favored a certain gender over another gender. We can cite an example of suffrage, women not being allowed to vote in several democracies until present day that women are allowed to exercise their franchise. And even with respect to suffrage, it is very important to mention that there is a deficit when it comes to women representation. Now, Ghana is a typical example. In our legislature, in our parliamentary affairs, when you come to a parliament house, out of the 245 representatives that we have in parliament, only 14.5% of women fall in this range. Now, somebody may say, you're making a lot of fuss about women representation, but you see, the fact is that what this causes or does is that it allows certain decisions that should go in the favor of women not to be fronted. People who have direct experiences, first-hand experiences, now women, policies that should favor them, policies that affect them are not able to be fronted very well because the people who form the majority do not have a better understanding or appreciation of these issues, and we keep shelving these issues year after year, day by day, and they go against women's development. We can talk about the gender pay gap that exists. Some people don't understand, but this is a reality. People find themselves in the same ranks, in same job positions, but just because of the importance that is placed on another gender over the other, you find one gender receiving a higher pay than the other. We can talk about archaic practices, traditions, beliefs that exist in various societies. In tradition, widowhood rights existing in African culture. We can talk about the preference of a male child over the female child, just as I cited in my introduction. When you go to China, it is researched that there is a preference over male children over female children because it is believed that these male children are able to, take up responsibilities from their father, their inheritances, and pass it down to their generations. When you go to India, talking about feticides, that's the killing, intentional or unintentional killing of babies. Baby girls are at the receiving end the most. In African tradition, in some cultures in Ghana, in Nigeria, you would only have to give birth to a male child before you are allowed to ascend some throne in some traditional settings. All of these are existence practices, policies, beliefs, traditions, and all sorts of systems that we have intentionally or unintentionally created out of sexism. Someone would ask, how is it affecting society? I have always talked about the fact that society should be looked at in the sense of balance. We should look at the fact that women and men alike are able to make society work. If we rely on one gender, we will not be able to achieve the level of development that we want to see. That is why I am always for looking at the fact that males are capable, females are capable. I am always looking at the fact that let us give people the opportunity based on their merits and not because one gender is more important or one gender is less important. This is what we are talking about. Sexism definitely is not going to lead us anywhere. Sexism is going to allow that inequality gap to further widen. It is going to continue to engender that bias. It is going to continue to engender that seeming gender war that exists between the male gender and the female gender. Males and females are all important. Males and females are all capable of bringing productiveness into our societies, into our economies. It is the reason why today I sit here and say, let us say no to all sorts and all forms of sexism, especially when it comes to the demeaning of the female gender. What do you think? How has sexism affected you? How have you seen sexism playing out in your home, in your workplace, or wherever you find yourself? I would like to see a comment of yours in that comment section. But like this video, send us your comments, continue to engage on our page, Reflo'S TV. This is the real deal. This is the place where we have honest conversations. And by the end of the day, you would realize that you are fed on quality content. We are still on that journey of discovering and rediscovering ourselves. It's always your girl, Reflo'S Church Girl, and I look forward to seeing you in our next episode for another educational content. Until then, see you next Monday.